Good day guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me Nate and welcome back to the Balkans. This is Balkans BMS 4.33.1. Sort of as a follow-up to last week's video where we were flying off in the ADV located in the south of Italy here and flying into deepest, darkest Serbia doing basically nothing for 2 hours. I decided to switch sides and have a look at what life is like on the red side of the spectrum. We're flying MiG 29As for the Serbian Air Force. And we have a mission today. Well, the mission I'm taking part in is a TARCAP, which is basically providing air cover for Serbian forces attacking NATO forces over here. And we're going to be flying and loitering overhead, and hopefully something will happen. I did a intercept mission earlier, thinking that was very interesting. Did it all, recorded everything, and turns out that the Serbians, like the North Koreans, don't have an AWACS aircraft, and therefore no way of getting situational awareness through AWACS data. So I was having to fly the flight plan route precisely and hoping that the enemy aircraft weren't going to deviate or fly any weird angles, and ended up I was just there for 40 minutes looking for it and just ended up turning up home. So let's just see how this goes. This is a much smaller route. Some of the other sweeps have quite I would say ambitious routes. Again, it's not so bad in any of the other NATO aircraft, but if you don't have AWACS, not having that picture of what's going on is a bit of a hindrance. So I will have a quick look at the MiG-29A, just to give you guys a quick recap. I have a video on this somewhere else on my channel, in one of my older videos. This is the MiG-29A for the Serbian Air Force. It has quite a capable, quite a reasonable loadout. I wouldn't say capable, but I guess quite a reasonable loadout of air-to-air and air-to-ground weapons. The air-to-air weaponry, we have here the 4 weapons it's got for air-to-air. It uses the NATO name, so the AA-8, also known as the R-60, the AA-11, which is also known as the R-73, and the AA-10A and AA-10B, which is known as the R-27. So these two are a long-range, or medium-range, I should say, actually, medium-range anti-aircraft missiles. The AA-10 A uses semi-active radar technology, and the 10B uses the infrared to guide its missiles. The 10B would obviously be, I think, be a better choice given that you really want to keep a low profile, not have your radar turned on all the time. But again, without the AWACS, that's basically not possible. And also, I don't know how it's modeled in BMS. I've never used it, so I've just opted to use the A model, which I know works because radar. Active radar technology works in BMS. I'm not sure how the 10B is modeled, so for the sake of realism, I've opted for the A model. I'm going to get rid of these AA8s because I don't want AA8s. The R60s or AA8s as they're known are the early Soviet Sidewinder copies, and I think they're actually copies, although they are improved copies because the Soviets added their own bit of side to them. So the AA11 is the R73, which has an off-board capability of about 43 degrees. So that should be very helpful. I don't know if that's modeled in game, but anyways, I think that's enough recap there. I'll just go to the air to ground in case that comes up in one of the future videos. Has no guided munitions. They're all dumb munitions. The FAB are pure dumb munitions. FAB 100, that's 100 kilos. FAB 250, that's 250 kilos. 550 kilos. The RBK, if my DCS knowledge serves me correctly, is a bunker busting dumb bomb. So it's got a special warhead or something that actually penetrates bunkers or hardened structures, not necessarily bunkers, maybe. S-24 rockets and 2 rocket pods, the UB-32 and UB-8, and I think some other things here, which are not available, so I won't go into them. Well, alright. Well, that's enough prelims, I think, as you can see. So let's go.
Alright, listen up.
Go to briefing. There's 2 of us, me and a AI buddy, and we're going to be flying over the enemy territory full of lovely air defense, Nikes, Patriots, Stingers. So let's try and keep let's try and keep a good altitude. And we're going to be covering our forces, which are moving towards Sergelici. My Serbian and Croatian and Yugoslavian is not existent, so apologize for anyone who is from those countries if I'm terribly slaughtering your language. I do apologize. But anyways, back to business. Let's get straight into the office. I'll see you guys there in a minute. Alright guys, welcome to the office. You can see here we're 2 ships in Lanja Banka, I think. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. But that's our departure now. I think as I mentioned before, there's only 1 screen, so you have to be quite careful when setting up your screens. So especially in combat where you don't have that situation awareness with the FCR and the HSD at the same time. Make sure we clear all these obstacles so I don't get a strike near the ground. Now, bit of a disclaimer, this is the third or fourth time I've tried to do the MiG-29 campaign. I've been trying to film this, but on most occasions I have been shot down by long-range US surface-to-air missiles. So Sykes, Patriots, Nikes, and all sorts of long-range AA. I have actually very rarely come across an enemy aircraft. And a lot of the time, in fact, actually, because I don't have AWACS, if I bring up the AWACS channel for you, let me go to channel 13 for a second there. We have no AWACS. So we've got the usual wingman, we've got the wingman commands, but that's about it. Now, one tip I can give if you do want to fly this thing out and about a lot is give your wingman, what's it called here, weapons free. And if you give him weapons free, because he's AI, he automatically kind of identifies the target. So if you're flying near something, on several occasions there are some trainer aircraft flying. G4 Galib's one of them, and I think there's another Yugoslavian/Serbian trainer out and about.
In position.
Let's get a bit closer.
Roach 1-2, activate radar.
That was not what I wanted to do.
2, set out.
Let's get him to come closer first.
2, Roach 1-2, close up formation.
Okay, there he goes out. Now, as I said before, you really want him to have weapons free because he won't fire on something, or he will identify something. If you don't have no weapons free, you can just have him. He will point out that he will say something along the lines of, "I have a shot," so he knows it's an enemy. While if I go to, you'll see when I get to combat. I'll cut this like I did last time to show you the fun/important bits. But you can cheat here a little bit because we don't have a real Russian RWR. You can see here it's an overlay. In the real one, these would all represent a type of threat, which is radar, anti-aircraft, missile and surface-air missile and aircraft radar, and it will give you direction and relative strength. This one is a simple, as I've said many times before, every single cockpit in BMS is an F-16 in disguise, and I should tell everyone now, because this came up in a conversation, one of the comments, that I have been told by the BMS moderators on the forums that because of how old the game is and how hard-coded it is, they cannot make cockpits that use other software. Like, simple as. Like, they can't put Russian systems in, they can't have Russian HUDs or Russian displays, digital displays, because it's just not possible. The game is so dated and so old-fashioned, they would have to build it from the ground up. So, anyway, that disclaimer is out there now. Now, back to what I was talking about. You don't have... This aircraft doesn't have the ability, so it seems anyway so far, to identify an aircraft when you hard lock it. Normally, in the F-16, if you hard lock something, the computer of IFF or its own database will eventually show you. Normally, if I go to FCR here and I go to swap my... in this screen, it will give you the aircraft type that it's locked onto based on a radar signature or IFF. It appears not to do it in this case. So there is that problem. So often, especially early game, I was having to fly quite close to the enemy and hoping for visual identification. And often that was me flying up against a G4 Galib or an Antonov 24, and then identifying it as a Yugoslavian or Serbian aircraft, and then just moving on. So hopefully there'll be a lot less of me just intercepting aircraft, because that is not interesting to watch, although very cool to do. Yeah, let me see if I lock this up now. So you really have to... There is a lot of radar management, because again, lack of you can see here, I don't know, just because as soon as I'm talking about targets, I've lost track of my situation awareness where I'm going, so there is that problem. Let's switch this to HSD. So I'm trying to switch the waypoint. Now, I would recommend learning all the shortcut keys for this aircraft because everything, as I pointed out before my sort of review video, is in Russian. I mean, if you speak Russian, this is clearly not a problem, but I think for the majority of the players here, this will probably be an issue. So I've learned to use the, I mean, just from using the Tornado F5, F6 for air-to-ground, sorry, air-to-air and air-to-ground respectively, plus minus key on the number pad to switch the cycle points, F1, F1 for the frequency changes. Let me make sure it actually reminds me to do that. So I've hit F1, channel 13. Yes, I'm not using any of the things. I know it kind of breaks the immersion a little bit, but sadly not much you can do about that.
Boxer 1-1, engaging target, bullseye, 020, 40 miles, 21,000.
So you still get friendly aircraft saying in English what they're doing, their actions. If you have a little like map or diagram in front of you of what's going on constantly, then that helps a lot. That gives you a lot of situational awareness. Without the AWACS and a little bit of limited RWR, it doesn't seem to be. This is a bit of a struggle. Occasionally I have been shot down by a missile that's somehow outside of my RWR range, so I've suddenly been shot down. Apparently at the after action it's a Nike missile, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But your only hope, of course, is to fly high, have your ECM on, and hope you stay okay. I think I've ranted on long enough, so I will keep flying and I will keep the recording on, but when something interesting happens, I will cut to it. So, alright guys, I'll see you guys in a bit.
Closing up. In position.
Alright guys, we're approaching waypoint number 4 and then en route to number 5. Now this is normally quite a dangerous waypoint, as I've done this mission a few times before, I think, as I said before. And it's very disconcerting because I just saw and heard a whole bunch of MiG-29s getting shot down. There were RWR 4 MiG-29s loitering in an area, and then 2 Patriot icons showed up, and then all the MiG-29s and then disappeared. And I can tell you from personal experience that is not uncommon. These Patriots are very scary, and they have incredibly long range, and I'm not sure why I'm not actually seeing the, I'm definitely not getting the warning most of the time. I'm just getting shot at the sky. So let's see if anything happens. So let's turn left now. Back left, and hopefully we'll avoid the Patriots. This is a very contested zone, and I really hope to be looking for air-to-air rather than air-to-ground duty. But as I said before, the lack of situational awareness is kind of a killer. Certainly the placement of the RWR down here doesn't do me any favors, even though I do have a quote-unquote RWR. Let's have a look for enemy aircraft. As I said before, I don't think the radar is particularly powerful, so I'm having often to use the focus scan mode. And this is the only way of identifying front and foe most of the time, is by locking them up and hoping for a buddy spike call. Or as I said, I think I might have said before, but the wingman will make a call. He will say, let me just fence in first. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. Give him weapons free. He will prompt you. He will prompt you that he's got a good lock on something, and he will then ask you for permission to fire, or yes, fence in, there we go. Yeah, so that's the only other way of, or the other good way of hitting from the foe, because if you fly towards something and he doesn't ask for a shot, then you know he's not got anything. So these look more like friendlies. No Patriots are below me out the sky or Nikes, which is good news.
Gator 7, attack target bullseye
Still have seen
350,
something.
25 miles.
Let's get the, I do have an HMCS, which is good news. Not really seeing anything at the moment.
Engaging.
I tell you, I am terrified of those Patriots. They are very scary. MiG 21. Am I seeing that right? Do we have MiG 21s? I'm not sure if that's on our alliance. Let's have a look. That's
Engaging. 1 o'clock, low.
That might be MiG 21. See, maybe he has locked the target. I'm starting not seeing anything on the radar. Using the focus mode. Can't remember what it's called. For targets, this is the best way of doing it. Due to the often extreme ranges. Again, the radar doesn't seem to be better than the F-16's radar. Seems to be significantly better than this.
Gator 9, let's go home.
Let's go back to the radar mode. Sorry, let's go back to the HSD. Oh, we're a little bit off course, but that's okay. We'll hopefully look for some trouble, although at the same time, not too much trouble, I hope. There's that Patriot. Bit of combat going on down there. Looks pretty intense.
2, engaged defensive.
Well, he's engaged defensive, I should also be more careful.
Cowboy, should
I
spot
don't know where that defensive call came from, but better safe than sorry. Now, I know this doesn't look like much of a defensive move, but I assure you, it's the best I can do at this point. I'm not sure where the threat's coming from. I don't know where to pull. I'm just gonna go hug the earth.
Outfit.
It's the missile there now. According to the RWR is behind me, pulling a tight turn, pull into the missile, hope to defeat it. Appear to have defeated the missile. Whew. That was exciting. Right. Well, that's different. As I said, I am absolutely terrified of those Patriots. They are really, really, really striking fear into me. I hope my wingman's okay. I've still got him on my data link, so... Oh, sorry, he seems to be okay. Let's look for threats while we're down here. Maybe the Patriot can't lock us out. I'm hoping the Patriot won't lock us down here. I'm under the assumption that the Patriot is in fact a very, very powerful missile with a very powerful radar, so it might be able to lock us here. But it is a big missile, a strategic missile, and...
Level 4-1, buddy spike.
That's a buddy spike. And I think it may not have a good... turn rate. So like most of these long-range, very long-range missiles, they're huge, they're large, they're not particularly agile, and they're quite cumbersome. So sometimes at low altitude and very high speeds, you will be able to defeat it, like I did just now, with a tight turn and a bit of a speed gain. Either you'll force it to lose you on the track because it's got a narrow field of view, or it's... Oh, my buddy's engaged defensive again. I'm really hoping something shows up soon, because I want to just fire off the missiles and leave. as cowardly as that sounds, I really don't want to lord it here. So this is what it's like being on the other side of an F-16 and in BMS. It's genuinely quite fear-inducing. As cowardly as that sounds, there is something according to the LWR here. Now let's see if he calls Buddy Spike, because so far he hasn't. And that is interesting. Now that person hasn't called Buddy Spike, and I know F-16s are operating in the area, so I have a feeling I may have finally found someone to shoot at. Now I know some of you saw go STT. It's because these are semi-active missiles. They need you to actually get a hard lock, and the data. I mean, if you don't know how that works, the data is fed constantly back to the missile from the plane's own radar. So it's unable to. it's unable to track on its own in full.
Bearing 155, 1 mile.
Set up rescue.
You get a very high rate of closure.
En route.
If I just swap my screens on that is coming deep from enemy territory. So I'm going to assume, and I think, oh, there goes.
Warning, warning, warning,
I
warning.
believe there was a Patriot. Again, totally no warning. I'm going to have to bail. And let's see at the after action what that was.